educate people just a little bit about. Oh, hey, there I am once again, twice today. The show has caught me chatting, not paying attention, so I need to put my phone away. It's like driving. I shouldn't touch my phone. Anyway, Thomas Munson. Hello, Thomas. How are you?
It's a pleasure to be with you on this uncharacteristically warm May day in the UK.
Yeah, yesterday actually was the hottest on record in the UK.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah,
Uh,
it's just around 35 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. And it's expected to be even warmer today.
yeah. Well, for those of us, well, listen, you got all that hair, so it'll probably be hotter for you than somebody like me. But anyway, so let's get started. Um, we're going to talk about the UK, as you always are generous enough to talk about the UK and what's going on with UK politics. It's as crazy as ever. I do want to go to what's going on in the SNP in Scotland, but we're going to do a little history lesson here first for the world, because we're going to be talking about England and Scotland. So I need to educate people about what the United Kingdom actually is, right? And correct me if I'm wrong in this.
Sure.
You have the United Kingdom, which is a composition of England, the country of England, the country of Scotland, the country of Wales, and Northern Ireland, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So you've got Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which make up the UK.
Okay. So when we're talking about, and the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, correct?
Well, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. See, I know it's simple stuff, but yeah, I have to realize that this show's heard around the world and people may not even understand it. So
yeah.
first, let's deal with Keir Starmer. He is the two major parties in the United Kingdom. At least they used to be the two major parties, are Labour, which Keir Starmer is a member of the Labour Party, and he's Prime Minister. And then we have the Tories, the Conservatives, which are the same. It just depends on which name you want to use, which is run by the opposition, Kimmy Baden-Dock. Now we got the Reform and others, which we'll come back to. Now, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, is under tremendous pressure to leave, to resign for a lot of different issues, but he's just not going anywhere. So there, within the Labour Party, there is possibility of a fight for the Prime Minister. This is not replacing him by a Reform person or a Labour person, I mean, a Reform person or Lib Dems. This is about fighting for who Prime Minister is within Labour, correct?
Yes, exactly. That is correct.
Okay. Now, based on that, let's talk about who are those possible replacements to Keir Starmer, and then I want to take that into the by-election, and you can explain to what the by-election is.
Yeah, yeah. So I expect the real runners and riders are, and I'll get probably the most significant one last, but Wes Streeting already. So Wes Streeting was the Secretary of State for Health, and seen as a sort of big supporter of Keir Starmer, kind of a similar wing to the Labour Party as Keir Starmer. He resigned the other week, saying that he had lost faith in Keir Starmer's ability to be Prime Minister, and he called for a leadership contest. Although, notably, he's not actually formally put himself forward for a leadership contest yet, which we can get to in a moment. You then have Angela Rayner, who's sort of much further on the left within the Labour Party. She's kind of the trade unions candidate, if you will. Um, if this had been a year ago, I think she would have been one of the favourites to take over. But unfortunately, she had some issues with when she was Secretary of State for Housing, over failing to pay stamp duty, which is a form of tax on housing. So she was forced to resign from the government. But nonetheless, she could still be involved in the contest. And then of course, you've got Ed Miliband, who was Labour leader from 2010 to 2015 and lost the general election as Labour leader, but he is still seen as one of the most influential figures within the Parliamentary Labour Party. And then, last but not least, you've got Andy Burnham, who some dub the King of the North in this country. This is a very Game of Thrones sort of fashion,
Yeah.
who's currently the mayor of Manchester. So he's unable to formally challenge Keir Starmer as of yet. But as you've alluded to already, Dane, there's a member of Parliament willingly resigned their seat so that Andy Burnham could stand in a by-election so that he could enter Parliament, which is where things will get interesting.
Okay, well, let me just clarify this for the audience. So, in order to challenge Keir Starmer, it must be a sitting member of Parliament already, right? So
Yeah,
Andy
yeah,
Burnham is the mayor of Manchester.
Manchester. Yeah,
And so a sitting member of Parliament, a member of Labour, has chosen to leave
Yeah,
so Andy Burnham can run in that seat. So if Andy Burnham is elected to Parliament, then and only then can he challenge Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, correct?
yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
Now, okay, so and of all those, just for the record, so for all of those people, those four people vying for possibly replacing Keir Starmer, only one of them really, Ed Miliband, has any really foreign policy experience, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Edmund Van worked in the Foreign Office for a period of time, and of course he's been the leader of the Labour Party as well. So of course, over experience of doing that, he's got some foreign policy experience as well.
And so what are the chances? I mean, because in the local elections we just had, that the UK just held, Reform did quite well. Labour did not Labour, the Greens did well. I mean, what's the chances of Andy Burnham actually winning?
Well, winning the by-election.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting seat. I suppose he had limited choice in which seat to stand for because somebody had to be willing to stand down and lose their job for him to stand. So the seat is in the Greater Manchester area. So he's got enormous name recognition there. I think perhaps where there might be a challenge for him is it's not I just it you've got a big reform support there that's sort of grown in that area for a period of time. They did quite well in the 2024 general election in that seat. It's I think it's 97% white area, working class area. Um, and so, yeah, there's that possibility that it could go to reform. So it's high risk. There is no guarantee that Andy Burnham will win this seat. Um, Ironically, Keir Starmer has said that he'd be very happy to go and campaign for him in the by-election, which might be the kiss of death. Um, but what you have to realise, Andy, but is his name recognition is immense, and he's also the only mainstream politician in the country with a net positive favourability rating. The
Hmm.
only one
That's
with plus 6%, which isn't much really, but you think the next popular is Kemi Badenoch on minus 10 or something.
well, I'm surprised Kimmy's even at that. But so let's say Andy, and then so the by-election is when? June. When is the by-election?
June 18th, I want to say.
June 18th. Okay, so basically on June 19th, let's say that he wins the by-election. Now, he can't just suddenly decide he wants to challenge, right? What's the mechanism, real quick, on like if Andy Burnham gets into Parliament, what's the mechanism for there to be a fight within Labour for
Yeah.
Prime Minister?
Yeah, so he would need to gather support from the parliamentary party. So he would need, I think, it's in the region of 80 nominations from other members of parliament to stand, which would automatically.
All within his own party, or just within Parliament itself?
No, this would have to be within the parliamentary Labour Party.
Okay, so
Um,
within Labour, he has to have 80 people within Labour to support him. Okay.
to support him, which I'm almost certain he could get that in 24 hours. I think really, I mean, the leadership election is essentially on hold just until Andy Burnham can put himself forward. Wes Streeting claims that he's got those sort of numbers as well. So you could still see Wes Streeting standing in a leadership election against Andy Burnham. And the jury's out on whether Keir Starmer would contest that leadership election or not. At the point at which it's triggered, there are some people that think Keir Starmer will just appreciate his position as untenable and will resign. But there's another school of thought that actually he would want to battle it out, even if it means damaging the sort of Labour Party brand by having a sort of dogged leadership contest.
Actually damage it any more than it's already damaged? I'm just curious about that.
No, it's true. That's true. But I suppose the only thing that they've got going for them at the moment is they've not done what the regicide that the Conservatives committed of just continually stabbing each other in the back and ousting their leaders and replacing them with new ones. So that's one of the few things that Labour had going for them, I suppose. So a sort of fiercely contested contest might not do them any favours compared with Reform, for example.
Well, okay, let me ask you. So, okay, so that's Andy Burnham. So I think that just for the viewers of the show, I think that a leadership contest, even if Andy Burnham doesn't win, there'll be a leadership contest against Starmer basically in late June,
Yeah.
and that if, in my opinion, I will tell you that if Andy Burnham does win the election, I think he'll be the next prime minister. I just think that that's probably what's in the cards, but
Absolutely.
we'll see. Now, so that's what's dealing with the UK. So late June, guys and gals who are listening, we'll talk. I'll have Thomas back on, and he'll give us the post-mortem of what happened. Now, real quick, the reason I brought up, the England, Scotland, Wales, stuff is because there was a major shakeup in Scotland yesterday. We only have a few minutes here. Walk us through that real quick.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, the SNP's been caught up in a massive financial scandal, particularly in this case, Peter Murrell, who's been the chair of the. Yeah, I should add the SNP stands for the Scottish Nationalist Party, who campaigned for independence for Scotland. So their chief executive, their leader, their chairman, has been arrested and charged. I think he's pleaded guilty now to embezzling over £400,000 of party funds to fund his lifestyle. Various other high-profile members of the SNP were arrested as well. Nicola Sturgeon, a couple of years ago, she was arrested, but she was released without charge. Nicola Sturgeon was the first minister for Scotland. And actually, she is also worth noting. She was the wife of Peter Murrell until they've separated now. So they were married to each other. And yeah, so he's pleaded guilty, I believe yesterday, to embezzling £400,000 of party funds.
And that's a big in Scotland. They were like the royalty of Scotland, right? I mean, they basically have controlled that party and controlled Scotland for 25 years, right?
Yeah, they've won the last 5 Scottish elections, the SNP. So they've dominated Scottish politics. It's only really the last election where, even though they were still the most popular party, they didn't have a majority anymore. Already the reputation's been damaged quite a lot by these allegations. And I think that's only going to get worse now that you're seeing potentially one of the most significant figures in Scottish politics for a long time facing prison time.
And is that you think that's going to have a repercussion on the well, let me ask this question. So the SNP, Scottish Nationalist Party,
Hmm.
do they I'm going to show my stupidity here, even though claim I know about UK politics. So you have Labour, you have Conservatives, and Parliament. We're talking about Parliament. Is
Hmm.
SNP separate party in Parliament?
Yeah, so that yeah, they have people in the British Parliament as well as in the Scottish Parliament.
Okay, and so when there's a
But
general
they're in Scottish seats in the UK Parliament, if that makes sense.
yeah, so the UK Parliament. So when you talk about there being, I don't know how many members of Parliament there are. Um, so when there's a general election, elections are held in Scotland to choose members in Scotland to go to be in London for the British Parliament, right? So,
That's correct. So
uh,
you've got the UK Parliament, the British Parliament. We have people from Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, all in that British Parliament. But then you have devolved parliaments, which focuses solely on Scottish issues, Welsh issues, etc. So they're in the Scottish Parliament and the British Parliament.
okay. And so basically, once again, I have to go on this tangent, but Scotland, it's not a self-governing, right? I mean, they basically govern themselves, except they must follow the laws of what the British Parliament makes, right?
Yes, a tremendous amount is devolved. So, for example, if you're lucky enough to be Scottish, you can go to university for free. That's something that the Scottish government will pay for you. But on things such as foreign policy, for example, there is a UK foreign policy which Scotland is more or less obliged to go along with. But and say immigration as well, but issues like housing and healthcare and social security are devolved. So they have a fair amount of autonomy there.
And does the S&P typically, do they like the Labour Party or the Conservatives better? Does it matter about Starmer to them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the SNP are a left wing party, more or less. It's a slightly more nuanced than that. The overriding thing is that they support Scottish independence, and so really, even though economically they might be more aligned with Labour, actually, to them they don't really care who the Prime Minister is. They just want to be independent of the United Kingdom. That's their driving mission.
And speaking of that real quick, because we have to go here, speaking of that real quick, since the SNP has been the party of wanting like a Brexit of their own, or they call it, I don't know, what's the phrase, it's not Brexit they use, Scottish, I don't know. So yeah, they want to, I've termed a new term. So they want to break away. And and if there was a vote, by the way, if there was a vote in Scotland, there was a previous vote about Scottish independence. But if there's
Yeah.
a Scottish independence vote, is that vote just within Scotland or is it nationwide?
Yeah, if they had another referendum on Scottish independence, I strongly suspect it would just be Scottish people voting on that. I should add, though, that the sort of current polling shows that, despite everything that's going on in the UK, that the majority of Scots actually support remaining as part of the United Kingdom for now. So I think it's unlikely we're going to see an independent Scotland anytime soon.
Okay, and then I know I'm all over the map, and I know we got to go here, but this is interesting to me from the standpoint of okay, so let's talk about okay, Scotland. The people wanted independence, but both Burnham and the minister, the other minister resigned,
Oh, West Streeting.
West Streeting. They both support becoming part of Europe again, right?
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, Wes Streeting said that fairly recently, actually. I think that's almost like going to be part of his leadership campaign, should that campaign happen. And Andy Burnham's made those sort of noises as well. I suspect that Andy Burnham will dial back on that. To be honest, I think, especially during the by-election as well, which is in a very Brexity area. So it certainly wouldn't be doing him any favours to be talking about rejoining Europe. I think if either of those people, if that was their serious intention, West Streeting and Burnham, I think they would have to call like a snap general election to get a mandate to get that through.
but would the SNP and the Scots want to go back to Brexit, or would that complicate their efforts to be independent?
Well, yeah, this is the ironic thing. I mean, Scotland's very pro remaining in the European Union, even though you do have a strong independence movement to leave the United Kingdom. I think the SNP's plan, should Scotland have voted to leave the United Kingdom, was they would then apply to join the EU as an independent country. So they're very pro Europe in Scotland,
Hmm.
much more
Okay.
than the rest of the United Kingdom.
Well, listen, all the as I said at the top of my show, I mean, U.S. politics are crazy because we have a crazy man running the country. UK politics are definitely interesting these days. But give us where do you think the UK is going to be a year from now, honestly?
I suspect there'll be another election between now and then. That'd be my prediction. I know predictions are a fool's game in
A
politics.
general election or a party election?
No, I think there'll be a general election, almost certainly. And
Okay,
I
well, real quick, I hate to do this. Explain to us how that happens. I mean, how does a general election happen before it's time for a general election?
well, it'd be at the Prime Minister's discretion. The Prime Minister can call an early election, but
Oh,
assuming he's got the support of Parliament, and I know opposition parties would vote against the election, right? Because there's a chance for them to get in. So they do have the power to call one early. And I think that Burnham will want to capitalise on a sort of honeymoon period that he may have. As I said, he's a very popular politician at the moment. And B, if he actually wants to make some radical change in this country, he needs a mandate to do that. He can't just start nationalising things without any sort of democratic mandate to do so. So I think it's quite possible, whoever the new Labour Party leader is. I like that we're writing off Keir Starmer here completely, by the way. But
yeah.
whoever the new Labour Party leader is, I think will end up calling election in next year.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think Starmer's gone. I mean, listen, I think he's a nice guy. It's nothing to do with him, and he is a pro supporter of Ukraine, so it's sad. But no, I think that he's toast in any scenario. But we need just my own personal thoughts. We need stability. I mean, these governments, the United States, the UK, we need stability. And we got the French elections coming up. Macron's going to be gone. I mean, not because he's term limited, he has no choice. So we have a new leader there. And we just don't have strong leadership around the world. I mean, maybe Andy Burnham, who comes in, once again, I don't know from Adam, so maybe he's going to be great and provide some European stability. Who knows? But anyway, Thomas, it's always great to have you. Listen, it's going to be the hottest day. Why are you wearing black? You should not be wearing black on the hottest day of the year, man. So
Yeah, no, I was questioning my choices when I sat down to join the call. Actually.
Well, you look good, but it's just going to be hot. I'm just telling you
No,
right now, it's going to be hot. Anyway, listen, thanks, Thomas, for being on the show as always.
it's
It's
all good.
always a pleasure to get your insight. And thanks for being with Dane Waters, around the world with Dane Waters. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks a lot.